Yeah, I heard a little bleep bleep.
Yep. And hello, Twitch. Good evening. Happy Saturday. It's United Hearthstone League. Time for another match. This is the last match for week one for United Hearthstone League. My name is Cinder. I'm bringing you along, bringing this match with you, along with me over there is
words
Appa.
words am hard.
What do we decide set Thursday? You are Homie
Uh,
Supreme?
Homie Supreme.
Homie
That's what it
Supreme,
was.
right on. What's up, man?
Nothing much. I'm excited to cast more Hearthstone. Whenever I did my inaugural casting with you last season in that one match that we casted together, I
That's
had
right.
so much fun, and I just really found a love for this. So I'm just excited to cast some more games and see some good Hearthstone played.
Yeah, and really happy that the players have decided to utilize us as casters, and we really appreciate that. It's a lot of fun. So we are going to be streaming for you tonight. Versika of the Hero Power podcast versus Ziggy of the 1600 Us podcast. So two podcasters going head to head. And Ziggy, of course, with probably the most entertaining Twitter in Hearthstone, or at least like top five.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, definitely.
Definitely worth a follow. So let me go over the format, and then Appa, I'm going to have you talk about the matchup here. So the format is this: it's a best of five conquests, and each week each player has to bring three unique classes as you would for conquest. But the next week, those three classes are not available. They have to have pick three more from the remaining six, and then in the third week of that rotation they have to play with the last three classes they have remaining. But this being week one, they have access to all nine, so they get their choice of whatever they like. So Appa, what do they have for this week?
So Versika has chosen to bring Zulok, Odd Baku Hunter, and Taunt Druid deck.
Okay.
While Ziggy has decided on bringing a Druid deck, which is no surprise because she loves Druid.
Yep.
She brought Spiteful Druid. She brought Rush Hunter, which is actually looks really interesting, and she brought a Tempo Secret Mage.
Ooh, I like that. I thought Secret Mage was going to die. It has not died. It seems to be doing all right.
Death, Taxes, and Zoo and Secret Mage.
There you go.
I think that's what we got.
Yeah, Zoo is an interesting take too. I mean, the cube is just so strong right now. So the option to go with a Zoo deck, like a mid range deck, it's interesting to say the least.
You do get percentage points against people in like before turn one, even whenever you bring Zoo in a closed decklist format, because most people will mulligan for that cube block. And if you're looking for your higher value, like more greedy cards against cube block, then they flame imp on turn one. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm in for a world of hurt.
Indeed, and Baku Hunter, it looked promising at the start of the meta, but now it's kind of on thin ice, I think.
Yeah, Baku Hunter is an interesting deck because it's very, very powerful just inherently. Like the hero power, two mana for 3 damage is so much over the course of a game. It's just the fact that once people know it's around and they're prepared for it, it gets much, much worse because each matchup kind of balances on a knife's edge for the hunter. And if something goes like the opponent's way and goes against the hunter, like once or twice, the game's pretty much over. They don't have pretty much any comeback mechanics, and they have to rely on what they draw in their opening hand and really push an early advantage as much as possible. And I actually have some of the matchups listed out here. And for Versika's Zulok against Ziggy's lineup, he only has one favored matchup in Zulok versus Tempo Mage, and that's about 55% in his favor, according to hsreplay.com. And Baku Hunter, he has no matchups in his favor there. Baku Hunter versus Rush Warrior is 38%, versus Tempo Mage is 40%, versus Spiteful Druid is 35%.
Yeah.
And Taunt Druid, again, not looking too great. Taunt Druid versus Rush Warrior is 65% in his favor, which would make sense. Rush is really going to feast on the aggro decks and have a little bit of a tough time accumulating value because their minions can be pretty small. So it's about 65% in the Taunt Druid's favor. Taunt Druid versus Tempo Mage, it's fairly close to 50-50. It has it listed as 45-55, but those kind of matchups can go either way. But Taunt Druid versus Spiteful Druid, we were talking about this before we got on the cast, and it's actually 35% for Taunt Druid, and that kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
But I think what it is that Druid has so many early plays, and it has the ability to cheat the mana curve with Greedy Sprite, and if it has the coin, so they can play their Spitefuls a turn earlier. And if Druid has no Naturalize, then the 10-drop really starts getting to work. But even if they do have the Naturalize for the Spiteful minion, then they don't have the Naturalize for their Hadronox. And that's part of a really big part of their game plan.
Right. Got to get that recursion with the Hadronox. Well, it looks like they are heading right into the match, so we're going to jump in and get started on this. Looks like Ziggy's going to be on the Druid. Versika starts off with that Zoo, so we're going to see just how well that Taunt Druid is going to do over the course of this match. But for now, Ziggy's hand opening up. Got a couple elementals to start with. That's not bad. Not a bad start for a Spiteful. And Versika has 1-drops available as a Zoo, and that's exactly what he wants to see as well.
Working on loading in right now. Laptop's being a little slow.
No problem.
We're getting there.
All right, and then Versika does have the option here to possibly coin in an additional minion. The Flame Imp would be unchallenged on the board, so that's a thought. Ziggy would be forced to use a hero power if she wanted to clear it. But she does have the option. She has Glacial Shard in hand, which will help slow down those initial trades. Versika definitely, he's considering the coin for sure.
One card that I would like to talk about in Versika's Zoo list is he has 1 copy of Clutch Mother's Zavas, and we don't see that yet, but it gives him a little bit more staying power with both Soulfires and the 2 Doom Guards. So that's a little bit of an interesting card if he's able to pick it up a little later on.
And Ziggy relies on the hero power to clear that Kobold Librarian, decides not to deploy any cards, and keeps the Firefly protected on board. Versika, though, does again have the option for the Flame Imp and the second Kobold Librarian. Did not play the other 1-drop, so he has a clean 2-mana play here, or could coin out the Tar Creeper. No, he's going to go with the double 1s. I like it. Second Flame Imp coming into hand now. Oh, he's going to coin out the second Flame Imp. Wow, that's a powerful start. And with Ziggy not really being able to trade this board terribly well, Versika is going to be able to protect it with Tar Creeper next turn. So this is a very good start for Versika. Although his life is already at 19 thanks to 8 damage from minion. Or no, that's 12 damage. Wait, 2, 4, and 6. Took 10 damage from minions. Crippler's going to come down and protect Ziggy's face, however, does not challenge anything but the Kobold Librarian, and it's going to just die to trades here on Versika's turn. And Ziggy, this is a Spiteful build, so no swipe available to clean up anything on turn 4. Tar Creeper comes in to protect those small minions. Clean trades for the Flame Imp. Kobold Librarian goes to face. Ziggy is now already on the back foot on turn 4. Mind Control Tech's an option. Serenite Chain Gang could also do some work. Mind Control Tech picks up the Flame Imp. Not too bad. Equalizes the board.
Testing.
All right. I got you, Appa.
All right, cool. I think my mic cut out for a second.
Oh.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
Have you tried turning it back on and off again?
Have you tried shutting it off and on? This is a kind of an interesting turn for Versika here. His mana would like him to play the 4-drop, but it's not. It's kind of a deceptive 4-drop, and that you want to play it later on in the game and not actually curve into it on 4.
Yeah, although he seems like he has not shied away from the damage my own face plan, which will get him much closer to that hooked horror. Ooh, top Fungal Mancer coming off the top for Ziggy, so she's now got both available to her. That could definitely be a big board swing if she wants to use those.
These are some very powerful boards right now. If I didn't know any better, I would think we're playing Druid Zoo versus Warlock Zoo.
And I mean, isn't that really what Spiteful is? I mean, if you ignore the Spiteful Summoner itself, it's just a mid-range deck with lots of minions. It's a zoo deck. But
and I like pushing the damage to the face here.
Versika's already taken a ton of damage due to his own cards, and now that she's got a slightly stronger board, she can push face. But that hooked Reaver is going to come down as a 7/7 taunt. It's going to be tough for her to get through.
Yeah, we do have caster vision, so we did know that was in the hand. But from Ziggy's perspective, I like trying to close out the game there and pushing damage to the face and dropping Versika to 10.
Yep, so Versika now being forced to do a little bit of trade to clean up the board. Even though that taunt's in the way, it's 10 is a scary life total. He needs to control this board if he's going to survive into an in-game scenario. But
yeah, he's starting to stabilize a little bit here in that he's starting to be able to isolate some minions and also develop his own. And these Doom Guards are going to really, really help for picking up value trades and starting to get the game back in his favor.
Yeah, the Glacial Shard's going to halt that 7/7 from attacking and allow the Cobalt Scalebane to deliver some power to Ziggy's side of the board here. So now Versika cannot trade away anything but that Glacial Shard. Going to go with the Serenite Chain Gang to further protect the face, which is at still just 10 life. Ooh, Spiteful Summoner off the top for Ziggy.
Oh man, this is gonna ratchet up the pressure a lot. She can take 2 value trades against these Serenites and then deploy a Spiteful Summoner, and this Hooked Reaver is getting dwarfed by these minions right now.
Yeah, even the Fungal Mancer can just power up one of these 2 minions to punch away that Reaver if she wants to. But it's really hard to say no to a Spiteful Summoner on curve. Yeah, she's going for it.
In these kind of matchups, I like deploying Spiteful as soon as possible, because even if it's not hitting the face, it provides a lot of value trading potential and just pressure on your opponent the very next turn.
Gets the guaranteed 8/8 minimum off of the Ultimate Infestation, 10 mana, and gets a little bit of help from the Cobalt Scalebane. Versika in a check scenario here. He needs to find some way to avoid having this Reaver getting punched through and having Ziggy deliver lethal off of what's just on board. And
I think he has to tap into something.
Yeah.
I don't think what he has in his hand is good enough.
And really, does he have anything in the deck that can really save him in this scenario?
It doesn't look like it.
I mean, the best he could do, I would think. Yeah, I don't think there's anything he can do in hand that will keep that Emerus from hitting face for 11 damage.
Best he could do there would be tap into Chain Gang, and then even then, Ziggy gets to value trade and hit for 11 with the Emerus.
Yep, that is not gonna do it. Versika is gonna have that Reaver traded away. Emerus is coming in. All right, Versika takes game number 1. 1-0 in this conquest match between podcasters. And we want to take this game break here to remind you that UHL, United Hearthstone League, is supported by Patreon. That's right, by people who are watching and supporting and just being great fans. And if you want to be a part of that support, you can do that. You can go to patreon.com/UnitedHSLeague and join in. In fact, we've already had a few patrons sign up. And Zeroshio gets the shout out already because he's hit that second reward rank. So thanks, man. And game 2 coming in. Versika going to the Taunt Druid, and Ziggy switches to the Warrior. Whew, I like this list, man. This is such a creative, interesting list.
For the
Warrior, I love it.
The Warrior, it is really cool. It's pretty generally accepted, I think, at this point, that the odd Baku Warriors are like the way to go. But I really like just kind of challenging the status quo and going with something like homebrewed and unique. And this deck looks really cool.
Yeah, the Town Crier, 1/2 tutor out a card is so good. Militia Commander, 4 mana, 5/5 with Rush. on the first turn that it's played.
Yeah, the way that Ziggy's going to win this game is by putting enough pressure on Versika that his power plays aren't good enough in the mid game. So she's going to have to find. I mean, she's finding them already. She's finding early good value minions that she can stick on the board and value trade with.
Mm-hmm. And I like the inclusion of Battle Rage in this card since it's so focused on rush. All of these minions are going to get damage from value trades as they're played. So Battle Rage almost guaranteed to get some value. Ziggy declines to go with the the Red Band Wasp on turn 2. I guess seeing that it can't trade away the Plated Beetle, but that's just giving Versika time to start setting up that taunt wall.
Yeah, and I think she's might be thinking about holding it to combo with Whirlwind a few turns down the road. And the decision to not trade with this plated beetle is kind of strange here from my perspective. I would think as Versika, you're just playing the control deck, and you want to get as many minions off the board as possible when you have free trades. So I think I would have traded into the 1/2 because I don't think you're winning this game by nickel and diming damage onto the Ziggy. I think you're winning the game by just slamming the door.
Right. Appa's mic breaking up a little bit there, but yeah, it's declining the trade allowed Ziggy to get that 1/1 on board and protected and coin out the Razor to trade away the Plated Beetle. Although Oaken Summons does pull out the 3/5 Astral Tiger, that's pretty good board presence for Versika, and he really needs it as he transfers into his mid game. But options available for Ziggy. She's going to go with the card draw, try to pick up some additional assets. Fairly decent mid-range hand for Ziggy, but she has yet to really find a window where she can play out these minions and leverage a little bit of this rush advantage. So she's just going to hero power armor up.
Yeah, we're really seeing kind of the potential weakness of Rush Warrior here, in that all of the minions have a lot of value whenever they're trading into something small, but Taunt Druid doesn't play a lot of small minions, so that's kind of the problem here.
Yeah, now here's an interesting inclusion for Versika's deck. It just occurs to me, the Astral Tiger, oh no, it's not a beast, never mind. I was going to say something wrong, and I stopped myself. Astral Tiger is not a beast. It's fine. Man, Ziggy, though, she's got all the card draw she could ever want in her hand, but she needs to play some minions.
Yeah, it's like she's playing a control deck right now with dinky little minions instead of large finishers.
And I think maybe, Appa, this is kind of, I think some people get reluctant to put stuff on the board if it's just going to get traded away. But I think it's important to do that. You need to be able to challenge the board. Even if your opponent can trade it away, you're removing cards from their board, right? You're allowing them to remove threat from the board. So I think you got to play cards, even if you don't think you're going to win the board off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even if you believe that the card you're about to play is going to get traded into for essentially free, it still puts damage on your opponent's minions, which can help you clear them up later on. You have to develop tempo at some point. You can't just give up the board just for free.
Well, the nice combination effect with Blood Razor and the Red Band Wasp did allow her to clean up the board somewhat and challenge that Tiger. So not a terrible play, to be honest. So Versika's going to be on 6 mana here. Not a great play. He doesn't really want to play out Ixil here. And it's way too early for that Naturalize. I don't think Versika really has a play here.
Yeah, he has a really awkward hand. He has all of his late game and not really much to bridge him to it. He'd love to see like a Nourish or something like that to bridge him to his late game and ramp him up.
He does Witching Hour for a Plated Beetle.
That's an interesting inclusion in the deck. I guess it makes you a little bit better against aggro, but I would think the deck would be fine against aggro enough anyways. But who knows? Versika is known as a brewer, and seeing interesting inclusions in his deck list.
Versika hits the Acolyte twice to attempt to burn something valuable out of Ziggy's deck, but she just loses a slam, which I don't think really harms her game plan. Now she's got a full grip, and she's got enough mana to play a couple of cards here if she wants to start getting ahead on this board, because that Plated Beetle's not threatening a whole lot.
Yeah, I think she just wants to use her mana as efficiently as possible in the upcoming few turns because she has so many cards in her hand. Maximizing your mana as efficiently as possible is going to be the key here to kind of developing an advantage moving into the late game.
Yeah, that Woodcutter's Axe is going to add even more power onto the board as these rush minions begin to stick. Versika now on 7 mana. Again, no play available that he really wants to make. He can deploy the swipe, but that's for just a single 2/3 minion. That feels terrible.
Yeah, the swipe against the militia commander who already killed a beetle for free. So you're kind of getting virtual 2-for-1 there, which feels awful.
Yeah, and now Ziggy has a clean board to deploy whatever she wants. She's got options. She could go for a Wasp and the Fesserud Hulk. She could go for a Berserker plus a Korokron Elite, which is what she's going to go with.
I like this play a lot. This is what I was going to suggest because it develops the Frothing Berserker, and we just saw Versika expend a swipe, which is one of Druid's only real clean answers to a Frothing Berserker. And this is going to pose a serious problem for Versika, as Frothing Berserker can get really scary.
Oh yeah, and that Korokron Elite's gonna combine with the Woodcutter's Axe to make that trade, and deploying a rush minion would allow Ziggy to get the extra value off of the Axe. But Versika now has, at 8 mana, he deployed the first Grizzly and has the second waiting in hand, and this is gonna start just dumping minions onto the board for Versika.
Yeah, with no silences, these Grizzlies are gonna really help Versika out a lot, as they're just gonna probably pull taunt after taunt and just start eating Ziggy's creatures turn after turn.
Yeah, and I think this is the effect of Ziggy being a little bit passive in the early game. Versika at 34 health has all the time in the world that he needs to start deploying these Grizzlies and getting recruit value, and not having to worry about getting hit in the face very much.
Yeah, if we just kind of look at the overall scope of this game so far, Ziggy's really struggled to even get on the board here. And Versika is just sitting at 34. And he has this grip full of giant minions that he'll be able to cast and that catch him back up into the game if he falls behind. So this is why this matchup's so bad for Rush Warrior, is that Rush Warrior has to expend so many resources to even get these 2 minions on the board, and Versika just doesn't even have to do that much.
Nope, and he goes ahead and throws out the Naturalize, even though he would normally want to save that for Hadronox, but this allows him to totally win the board away. Another Grizzly down in the way, another taunt, possibly pulling out 1 or 2 more taunts. Ziggy back to the drawing board on creating an offense. Well,
yeah, using the Naturalize there is, you can look at it and think it's fairly aggressive, and I would tend to agree, but I think it's okay to use that resource there because you do have Ultimate Infestation for refill, and you don't really desperately need to naturalize your own Hadronauts in this matchup, especially with another Oaken Summons in hand and this Ultimate Infestation plus the Grizzly on the board. So I think it's okay there, especially not knowing the deck list of Ziggy. But personally, I would have held it, but I can see arguments for using it on that turn.
And Ziggy just goes ahead and deploys the most powerful minion she has with the Lich King there, and that Ultimate Infestation doing all the work you just said it would. Appa, a refill for Versika, and not much of a threat coming down for Ziggy yet.
He even picks up the Spellstone as the last card, which is always a good feeling after the Ultimate Infestation, because it upgrades it immediately from that.
Ziggy now facing down quite a lot of damage here. That's 11 power on board, and this Tempo Warrior, Rush Warrior deck doesn't really run much in the way of defensive tools. It relies on Rush to make the trades, but tell you what, Darius Crowley's a pretty good card, Appa.
It is definitely a powerful card, and something that really makes the Rush deck tick. It's very important to draw. And we'll see it start scaling up here in power, but even so, like, she has a Frothing and a Darius Crowley, but they both are just going to die to what Versika has. So this is not a good situation for Ziggy to be in.
Nope. Both players down to the bottom third of their decks, too. Ziggy down to 7 cards. Versika's at 8. So Versika's even winning the fatigue race, if it came to that. Spellstone.
He'll win the fatigue race just in general because he has the
Tigers.
Special Tigers in
Right.
his deck.
Plenty of cheap removal available for Versika after that Ultimate Infestation, and he cleans the board completely and is left with a 5/5 to go to face. Oaken Summons will pick up another Tiger, and let's throw in a Ferocious Howl to put him at 49 life just to start putting the last nails in the coffin here.
All right, we're watching Druid? I thought this was Control Warrior.
This is... My goodness.
This is not good for Ziggy, to say the least. At this point, like, it's not over till, Fat Lady sings, but this one's looking fairly bleak for the Warrior.
Yeah, as I like to say, it's not over until the faceplate explodes.
There you go. That's a better expression.
This is a little more conscious of things. It is 2018 after all. Ziggy's picked up Grommash off the top, but Versika's so far away from being in danger of being rushed down by Grommash that Ziggy just deploying a 5/5 to trade away the ultimate zombie leaves the Tiger on board. I mean,
for context, Versika is 5 hits away from an enraged Grommash hitting him or killing him.
Yeah, Grommash would have to be on board for 5 turns. Witching Hour. Oh, Ziggy's gonna go ahead and give it up. That was a tough game for Ziggy. I do not envy her in that position. So Versika's gonna even up the series.
That was one of the best matchups for Versika. We saw it kind of play out how we expected.
Yeah, and let's take this quick break in between these matches to let you know what's coming up. Tomorrow night, we have Aleri versus Jordan Lingo at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then on Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time, Storm Rage versus Rod Johnston, the Dirty Rod himself. Check those out right here on this channel if you can. You want to see those matches. All right, Game 3 coming up. Versika going to the Baku Hunter, and Ziggy going to the Tempo Mage. I like this. Is going to be a race op. I definitely want to see how this works out.
Yeah, in my experience, this matchup plays out in that the Mage has to deal with the early board for the first 3 turns, and then if Ziggy can find a swing turn to develop Kirintor plus a secret or a Vex Crow plus a couple spells, then it'll swing in her favor. But if her hand's fairly clunky, so I think Versika definitely has a chance in this, even though the Tempo Mage is favored on paper.
Well, she did top deck the Mana Worm on turn 1, and that's exactly what she needed to at least try to get a foothold in this match. Versika not wasting any time, coining out the Akaris Veteran to create a 2/3 Dire Mole and challenge that Mana Worm right away. Ooh, Breath of Sindragosa, though, can be combined with that Mirror Image to create a 3/3 and start pushing some damage.
She is definitely finding some good draws off the top.
Goes for the Hero Power.
Yeah, the Hero Power is kind of a greedy play, and I think she made the read that he doesn't have a weapon in hand because he developed the 2 minions on turn 1.
Sure.
But this weapon's, I think, is going to punish.
Oh
wow, he doesn't even deploy it.
He goes for the Hero Power. I think he's doing a little mind games here, Appa, and just signaling to Ziggy that no, I don't have a weapon, and he's gonna surprise her with that Eaglehorn bow next turn, I think. But Ziggy, no secret yet. She's gonna have to use the Arcanologist to dig for something. Explosive Rune's definitely the one she wants, I would think.
Yeah, he wants to hold his weapon for a surprise factor, but this Mirror Image does a great job of eating weapon charges for free.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and with no secrets in that deck, it's just a Fiery War Axe, basically. So now he
picks up the copy of Baku. You never want to see that as the hunter.
No, and Versika, interestingly, has a copy of Stitch Tracker, which is it's a pretty slow card for a deck.
It definitely is slow, but it is quite powerful in late game scenarios where you want to pick up Leroy's or another charge minion off of the top.
Yep. For Ziggy on the other side, though, this the Kirin Mage will deploy the explosive runes. She could go for Breath of Sindragosa if she wants. I don't know about the trade here, Appa. I would think you want to get that Mana Worm starting to hit his face as much as possible.
Yeah, the trade looks appealing because it's a fairly clean value trade into the mole. But what I would like to see here is the Arcanologist into the Stitch Tracker and then the Breath of Sindragosa to lock the mole down and push 4 to Versika's face and start getting the clock going.
Yeah. Versika gets a bum roll on the Animal Companion. Liak coming down. Candle Shot not even going to punch through that mirror image. Ziggy has a free reign to put in as much damage as she wants this turn. That's 4, 9, 11, 17 she could send downtown if she chooses to do so.
Yeah, I think the Fireball might be a little aggressive here. I kind of like Arcane Intellecting and kind of sculpting the hand for the next couple turns because the game probably is going to end within the next 2 turns anyways. So I think just giving yourself more resources for just like devastating turns from your opponent as a kind of just break the window in case of emergency.
Well, she does exactly that. Picks up a Frostbolt. That's a great pickup in this game state. She can protect that mirror image for 1 more turn. Goes for another value trade, though.
I'm really kind of interested in how often she's value trading as opposed to using her spells to lock down the board.
Yeah, I mean it does align with the Tempo Mage plan, which is use minion pressure early, and when the board disintegrates, then you go to the spells. But I think she passed on a couple of opportunities to push quite a lot of damage where she could have used those spells to protect the board lead.
Yeah, and while Versika doesn't have one in his hand, Unleash the Hounds would be really devastating here.
Yeah, it would. Of course, Versika has to consider Counterspell in that situation because he doesn't have a way to proc the trap.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, he's using the kill command to... Okay, I thought he targeted the mirror image with it.
Yeah, the arrow looked like it targeted the mirror image. I
Okay.
was questioning it a little bit. But...
Yeah. Unfortunately, he has to use it to clear off that Mana Worm before it does any more damage. With his Vex Crow's very well timed on turn 6, he can combine that with that Frostbolt and start creating even more minion pressure on the board.
Yeah, Vex Crow is a very unassuming minion. It's just a 4-mana 3/3, but that ability on it is very, very powerful if it doesn't roll Doomsayer. And I think that's one of Versika's one of his real avenues back into this game is a Doomsayer roll on this Vex Crow. But Ziggy pushes a lot of damage that turn, drops Versika to 11, and this one's looking very bleak.
Yeah, Versika really didn't have a play available on board last turn. He tried to slow down the damage as much as he could, but it wasn't a clean clear. And Ziggy now just pushing a ton of damage. Explosive runes, no matter what Versika does, he's dead to Fireball in a turn. Glacial Shard's going to try and slow things down, but he's going to get the bad news real soon.
Yeah, this Fireball's lethal by itself with the hero power, so... This will be game 3 going to Ziggy.
Vex Crow pushing out 1 more minion. Doesn't matter, though. 2-1 now for Ziggy Zera. Versika now on the back foot. Still needs to win with this Baku Hunter, which he is not favored on. And after that has to still win with the Warlock.
Yeah, this Baku Hunter versus this Rush Warrior is about as bad of a matchup as you can get for Versika, and he'll have to get through this Rush Warrior eventually. So this Baku Hunter looks like it's been a liability here in this set.
Yeah, I have to agree. Suffering from the same thing that Hunter normally suffers from, and that it just kind of disintegrates after early swing turns with no way to come back on board. That 3 damage hero power is just not enough. But he does switch to the Zoolock up against the Rush Warrior. This is an interesting matchup, Appa. What's the numbers on this Rush Warrior versus Zoo?
Zoolock is unfavored 46% to 54%, so it's still fairly close, but it is still in Warrior's favor. This is another one of those matchups that can kind of come down to who draws a little bit better and who plays the board a little better. So it's going to be interesting. I think the next, like the first 3 or 4 turns will probably shape the texture of this entire game.
Yeah, and I imagine the rush minions available to Warrior just allow them to pick and choose the trades that happen against Zoo, which is normally the deck that wants to trade. Versika just playing down the Voidwalker early, and with no minion response from Ziggy, goes ahead and taps. Interesting inclusion, Corrupting Mists. That's not when you see it.
I think he added this in here along with the Dreadlords as kind of a concession to how powerful the Paladin decks have been.
Yeah, but of course Ziggy not running Paladin, so wasn't an issue for tonight's match. Now Versika protecting himself with a Taunt Wall. Not something you don't normally see from Zoo, but gonna go ahead and pick up one of these Militia Commanders to get a clean trade on that Tar Creeper.
Yeah, this is why the Rush deck is so powerful against minion-based mid-range decks, is because all of their minions kind of function as pseudo Firelands portals.
Yeah.
Like we see this Militia Commander come down as a 5/5, cleanly trade into this Tar Creeper, and then leave behind a 2/2 body that will also contest something in a couple turns.
And those who are watching, who have been with the game for quite a while, will remember Alex Strauss's champion. When you had a dragon in hand, she was a 2-mana 3/3 with charge, which in essence is very much how these rush minions function. And that card was what made Temple Warrior a thing back then. That was the card that made that deck. And now Warrior with these rushes has a very similar mechanic, and it has it spread across much of the deck build.
Oh man, Ziggy has a very powerful turn here. She could equip the Woodcutter's Axe and develop it. That'll buff up the Militia Commander, trade him with the Axe and a 1/2 into a Chain Gang, and then clear off the other one with the Militia Commander. Or she could play the second Militia Commander and also just get that on the board.
Yeah.
So she has some lines here that she can play.
Could also draw 4 cards if she wanted to. But yeah, I think she wants to press the advantage here. Korkron's gonna do some work.
Okay, I like this instead of the Militia Commander, actually. I think this is better because you're going to be trading basically throughout the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
This Korkron going face isn't going to be all that likely to happen. So I like saving this Militia Commander for better trading potential down the line, because it will be 5 attack as opposed to 4, which allows it to trade into things like the Dreadlord or a damaged Doomguard even easier than a Korkron would.
And Versika seeing a card he does not want to see right now. Last turn, the top draw was a Doomguard. This turn, Gul'dan now in the hand. Now, all of a sudden, that Doomguard becomes a very, very risky play, especially with the Zavis being part of the formula.
Oh, that was a great pickup in Mortal Coil there. Gets to kind of come back to even on card economy with the Korkron Elite that traded into a Chain Gang for free.
Yeah.
So he gets to recoup some of that disadvantage. And Ziggy picking up the Frothing Berserker here, that's a very powerful minion. It's very scary, basically for anybody to face down.
Yeah.
But if she plays it, it'll be answered pretty cleanly by the Soulfire.
Yeah, and she has to weigh that possibility, though. But again, Soulfire, there's a ton of value in Versika's hand, and discarding anything right now is very, very risky for him. But
yeah, this Blood Reaver Gul'dan makes these discards even more scary, because that is his late game. That is his slam the door in your face, this game's over now card. And if he discards that, he's going to have to nickel and dime his way to victory instead of having a very clean late game answer.
The Woodcutter's Axe getting set up for it proccing its Death Rattle next turn. Yeah, I like the trades into the Void Lord or Void Walkers to get him down to 2 health, and that Militia Commander is going to be very, very powerful next turn. And she can combine that with the Battle Rage as well. Versika tapping again. Soulfire now coming down, trying to get more cards in his hand to protect.
Oh, discards the
hits
Savas.
the
That's the
Savas.
best possible for him.
My goodness. And he had... How many cards does he have in hand? That's...
I believe he had 7 when that happened.
7, 1 and 7, maybe a 1 and 8. Yeah, that was I don't know how many cards it was, but my goodness. I mean, talk about rolling the dice and winning big. And now with the board being cleared thanks to that Soulfire, Versika goes very, very wide. But against a deck that runs a lot of Whirlwinds, this is dicey.
This definitely is.
And it also thinned his hand. Now the Doom Guard's basically unplayable if he wants to keep Gul'dan.
Yeah, but I think at this point he's okay with losing Gul'dan as well. I guess this Militia Commander makes it a little bit less enticing to play this Doomguard at the risk of losing this Gul'dan.
Yeah, and Ziggy pointed that Militia Commander at the face, and I feel for you. I wanted it to go to face too, but she can't do that.
7, just crunch.
And Versika got plenty of options here, but can only deploy a few of them thanks to the mana restriction. Going wide once again, trying to press a little bit of damage.
So what do you think here? Would you have played that Clutch Mother onto the board? Because I think that's fairly enticing just to put a 2-mana 4/4 on the board.
Yeah.
But I also do see the argument to keeping it, because if you do discard it with Doomguard, it's a little bit better.
But I don't think he wants to play Doomguard. Like, you don't want to...
That's fair.
I don't think you want to discard 2 out of 6 cards, because there's a pretty good chance you hit Gul'dan on that. So I think 2-mana 4/4 is fine. It challenges a Militia Commander. It puts a lot more power on board than a couple of 1/2s. So yeah, I would have preferred it. But Versika gonna deploy that Corrupting Mist now. Just such an interesting inclusion. Oh, he plays it, and then you put the Sea Giant behind it. Oh, that's really clever.
Yeah, the problem is, unless he trades into the Militia Commander, the Sea Giant is contested, so I would like him to see him point the 2/1 at the 4/2. But it looks like the Sea Giant's just gonna die for effectively free here.
Yeah, it's like it's the Corrupting Mist guarantees your minions die anyway, so you may as well value trade them out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the Slam's gonna clean that up.
But I guess it does kind of put the Sea Giant in the way as effectively an 8/8 taunt, which could be what he's looking for, honestly.
But now Versika has cleared his own board and allowed the Lich King to come down and completely dominate the board at right on curve on 8 mana. And Versika has to deploy a Chain Gang on turn 9. Does not challenge the Lich King in the slightest, although it does protect that 8 damage from hitting the face.
I definitely do like playing the Clutch Mother here, because I think he's sculpting his game plan for Blood Reaver next turn, and I would like to have that 4/4 on the turn.
Yeah, he's so
in play this turn.
It's such a greedy play there. But Ziggy, I don't see a way for Ziggy to punch through these minions unless she were to try to draw into a Whirlwind with that Slam and then rely on Obliterate or the Woodcutter's Axe to punch through.
I think I would just develop the Grommash here. A lot of people, whenever they look at Grommash, and rightfully so, they look at it as a combo kill card. Well, you can just deploy it on a board like this and trade into something and be left with a giant body.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with using Grom as removal, and I mean it still leaves a huge body on board. It's a 10/7 if he trades into the 2/3 Saronite. No, she's gonna go for the Acolyte, which is I think it's a little premature. I think you want to draw the card first before you decide on the Acolyte. But the Red Band Wasp comes down. It's going to be able to trade away the 3/1, at the very least.
She does get to end this turn with the board in her favor, which is what she's looking for. But Versika does have the Blood Reaver coming up.
Yeah, it was a little clunky, but she managed to get there. She just leaves the Acratus Veteran in play. Oh, now both Doom Guards and Gul'dan are in turn for Versika. This is just one of the worst things you want to see as a Zulok player. My goodness.
Man, this hand is so awkward.
All right,
I wonder if he's going to go for the Doom Guard here.
I think you have to. I think
you just have to go for the Doom Guard and cross your fingers that you win the lottery.
Yeah, and what are your odds, Appa, on Versika after this match going back and playing or putting Skull of Minari in this deck?
I would bet pretty highly on that one.
So Versika goes with the Clutch Mother, which is, I don't know, that was a fairly passive play, considering, I mean, he could still roll the Doom
definitely was
Guards.
a passive play, and I would be really scared of taking too much damage here, especially with like the big board that Ziggy has. And it
Yeah.
looks like he is going to take a lot of damage from
Yeah.
this Grom.
Yep, the slam is a Grom activator. Oh, wow, that's another interesting.
I guess she values the
taunt.
card draw of the Lich King and the taunt a little more than Grom, which does make sense.
And this does set Versika to 5 nonetheless, and still no clean trade available for Versika. He's at a point where he has to play Gul'dan.
I'm not sure which demons he had that are too impactful.
I don't know. I'm not sure this is gonna. Oh, he's got a couple of Void Walkers. Okay,
makes sense. Sometimes I forget Void Walker's a demon. I don't know why. I play against it all the time.
Yeah, this is so close to lethal. Actually, I think this is lethal. She can go obliterate, an anti-magic shell, and that would be 11 damage. Or 13 damage. So if she sees it, ooh, that's not quite it.
It doesn't look like she saw it.
Well, she could still go. Yeah, I think she just did not see it. That's okay. You know, it happens. You're in the middle of a match. You're on stream. Pressure's on.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody misses lethal. Mm-hmm. It's just Oh no.
Oh, this is still lethal. Okay, you know what? She saw it. We didn't.
I just said everyone misses lethal, and we missed it. We missed lethal number 2.
But that is it, folks. Ziggy takes the match 3-1 over Versika. Appa, give me some thoughts on.
So I think this match was a lot of just kind of the nature of this format in that they're blind deck lists and you have to take all 9 classes. And I think Versika just kind of lost a little bit of lost some rolls on these matchups here.
Yeah,
he brought some proactive decks, which I like. In the Baku Hunter and the Zoo, it's just the decks that Ziggy brought just happened to line up well against his.
Yeah, in the lineup stage, so important in any kind of best of format. If you can get the odds in the matchups, you have a very, very good chance of winning any series. You know, as long as you make the plays and you don't fall to a little too bad luck, because luck goes both ways. You know, Versika's hands at times was quite painful to look at from our perspective.
Yeah, on any other day, he may have had some better draws. Ziggy may have had some clunkier draws, but as it stands, the matchups didn't pan out in his favor on paper, and they didn't pan out in his favor in the game. So Ziggy walks away with a 3-1 here, a fairly strong result, and one we kind of predicted just based on stats.
Yeah, and she navigated those matchups and got the Q order correct. So props to her for getting all the cards to fall the way she wanted them to. So once again, folks, remember we have a match coming up tomorrow at 7 p.m. and then we have one on Monday at 6 p.m. And as more matches get scheduled, they'll get on the calendar. You can go to UnitedHearthstoneLeague.com and check the calendar out and see when those matches are coming up, because this is only 2 out of 8 matches that are getting played next week. So you definitely want to tune in for those. But for tonight, this was a great match. I really liked the deck selection and some of the creativity that we saw. I'm totally happy that we got to cast this one, Appa.
Yeah, this was a great match to watch. They were fairly standard decks with some interesting tech choices in each. I would say the Rush Warrior is probably the most off-meta list or off-meta strategy in both of these players' lineups. But yeah, this was definitely an interesting one. And I like watching matches that you can kind of predict what happens and kind of read along as the match goes on, kind of.
Yeah, and I tell you what, man, I want to go and get a Rush Warrior list and like try to hit a little bit of ladder and see if I can make any headway. As long as I can duck the Q blocks, though.
Whenever I see Darius Crawley come onto the board,
he's
I'm
so
like,
good.
Man, I need to craft that dude.
He's so good. I still haven't played with him yet. I did open him, and I haven't played him yet. He's just so good. But thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. We hope you enjoy these matches. Come back in just a day or two, and you will catch even more action between all of these great players and content creators right here at United Hearth League. So for me, and I'll let Appa say goodnight for himself. Good night.
All right, good night. Looking forward to the next time we cast.
Yep.